Joey Badass.
Joey Badass.
Joey Badass.
Niggas that confident in their skill, like nigga, you might be up in terms of popularity or whatever, but
Some of the other people that had things to say about him, I don't necessarily agree with that. I'm also with rappers ignoring who they think they should be, or who they think should be ignored.
Did Joey Badass just do that? The rap world is absolutely reeling after he dropped a track directly calling out Kendrick Lamar. If you haven't heard, buckle up, because this is not just a diss. It's a thunderous proclamation that's got everyone from die-hard hip-hop heads to casual fans losing their minds. You thought 2024 was wild. That was just the calm before the storm. Here we are in early 2025, and Joey Badass has essentially lit a fuse that could blow the entire hip-hop landscape wide open. We're talking about a head-on collision with the man who many consider the most untouchable MC of the past decade. Yes, that Kendrick Lamar, the same lyrical genius who redefined modern rap with projects like Good Kid, Mad City, To Pimp a Butterfly, and Damn. The same Kendrick who's been a beacon of the West Coast since he first burst onto the scene. But guess what? Joey Badass just stepped right into the spotlight, no hesitation. And this isn't some subliminal jab or minor lyrical slight. This is a direct shot across the bow. A statement of intent. A declaration that the East Coast refuses to be overlooked any longer. Welcome to the next chapter in hip-hop's storied East Coast versus West Coast rivalry. One that might just reshape the genre for years to come. So, let's rewind for a moment and break down what exactly happened. Joey Badass dropped a track titled The Ruler's Back, a nod to legendary East Coast figures Jay-Z and Slick Rick. That title alone is a giant clue. Joey is reaching back into the lineage of East Coast royalty. He's not merely paying homage, he's planting his flag, loudly proclaiming, "The throne of New York is mine, and I'm going to defend it against anybody." And he didn't stop there. In the track, he specifically name-drops Kendrick Lamar. He riffs on phrases and motifs Kendrick has used throughout his career, flipping them to mock or challenge him. One line in particular has the internet buzzing. "I got murals in my city. F** a nomination." For context, Kendrick famously references murals in Compton and around LA in his own music, often speaking on the imagery and legacy they represent. Joey's line takes that imagery and blasts it right back at him, essentially saying, "I don't need your awards or your West Coast props. My city has immortalized me already." Then there's the stinging line about the West Coast licking, which many interpret as both a reference to Jay-Z's sly jabs from his own era and a critique of how the West Coast has, in Joey's view, become complacent, maybe even soft. Or, as Joey implies, they've been resting on their laurels, confident that the region's dominance, through artists like Kendrick, Tyler, the Creator, and the entire TD camp, would never truly be challenged. It's a harsh statement, a direct challenge to an entire region that's been flying high for the better part of a decade. But perhaps the boldest shot of all is "too short to box with me." It's both a literal dig at Kendrick's stature, he's not a tall guy, and a figurative claim that Kendrick simply can't measure up anymore. In other words, Joey is hinting that Kendrick's prime might be behind him, and it's time for a new king. In hip-hop, that's borderline sacrilegious. This is an art form that reveres its goats, and Kendrick's name has been floating in the top-tier MC conversation for years. Now, is this just Joey Badass looking to stir the pot for clout? Or is there a deeper mission here? One angle is that Joey Badass is done with watching the East Coast feel second-rate when it comes to rap's modern mainstream. Sure, New York is the birthplace of hip-hop, and it's produced icons like Biggie, Jay-Z, Nas, and so many more. But in recent years, from a mainstream perspective, the West Coast has grabbed a massive share of the conversation, with Kendrick's critical acclaim and global recognition, plus artists like Schoolboy Q, Absol, Tyler, the Creator, Vince Staples, and more. It often feels like California has had an unbreakable stranglehold on the culture. Joey Badass, on the other hand, has been carving out his own path since his mixtape days with 1999 and projects like B4 and All-American Badass. He's always been vocal about his love for classic, gritty, boom-bap-style New York hip-hop. And while many praised him for staying true to a traditional East Coast sound, Critics also questioned whether that style could remain relevant in an era dominated by trap beats and West Coast experimentation. Perhaps Joey sees this as a turning point, a moment to declare, "We're not dead. The East Coast never left. We just needed a spark." And that spark might very well be this track. Joey's aggression in the ruler's back is a rallying cry for every East Coast MC who feels overshadowed. He name-checks the likes of Benny the Butcher, Conway the Machine, and A$AP Rocky, artists who have, at various times, carried the weight of New York on their shoulders. Benny and Conway, from Griselda, have been pumping out raw, hard-hitting records that echo the gritty 90s era. A$AP Rocky has seen massive success and international recognition, though his style straddles multiple influences. Joey's essentially looking at all these New York power players, saying, "We can't just let the West have all the glory. Step up with me, or step aside." There's a saying in hip-hop, talk is cheap. Diss tracks come and go. Rappers feud on Twitter or Instagram live, only for the headlines to fizzle out when the next big story hits. So, the natural question here is, does Joey Bada have the staying power and the firepower to keep this feud and the conversation alive? We've seen rap beefs that spark massive cultural moments. Think Nas versus Jay-Z in the early 2000s. That feud gave us Ether and Takeover, tracks that are still studied and dissected today. Think Drake versus Meek Mill, which introduced an entire generation of younger fans to the spectacle of a rap battle in the social media age. Or go way back to the 90s, with the tragic East versus West rivalry that left the culture forever changed by the losses of Tupac Shakur and the notorious B.I.G. Here, though, Joey is not just calling out one rapper. He's targeting an entire coast. He's painting himself as the figurehead of a revived East Coast, the man with the credentials and lyrical prowess to dethrone the West. But is that enough in an age where streaming numbers, viral moments, and brand partnerships often hold more weight than raw lyricism? In 2025, hip-hop is an industry that thrives on spectacle. Beef can be as much about social media presence, memes, and Instagram stories as it is about bars. Joey's approach, as stated in the track, "We can run a fair one," suggests he wants to keep this purely about emceeing, about pen and paper, about the raw essence of rap. But will a modern audience champion that ethos? Or will they look for the quick memeable moment and scroll on? If there's one danger Joey faces, it's isolation. It's one thing to call upon your fellow East Coast MCs, but what if they decide not to back him up? What if they see this as Joey's fight and choose not to risk their own relationships or reputations? Kendrick Lamar, after all, is more than just a rapper. He's a cultural figure, a Pulitzer Prize winner, an artist whose influence spans globally. Aligning against him, if it goes sideways, could be career suicide. Joey is essentially leading a charge, but the question is, does the East Coast even want to mobilize? Could it be that many of its top artists are content to collaborate across coasts, to maintain friendly ties, and keep the industry synergy rolling? Conflict can be great for buzz, but it can also close doors. Major label executives, festival organizers, streaming service curators, they might see a full-blown rivalry as too divisive. And in an industry that's turned more corporate over time, divisiveness can be a kiss of death for sponsorship deals and brand partnerships. Yet, as any longtime hip-hop fan knows, competition can spark the best creativity. Some of the greatest records in rap history emerged during heated rivalries. So maybe, just maybe, the likes of Benny, Conway, Rocky, and other East Coast heavy hitters will see an opportunity here. A chance to remind the world that the region that birthed hip-hop is still at the top of its game. Joey's track might be the galvanizing factor that pushes them to get back in the booth, aiming to out-rap, outsmart, and outperform their West Coast peers. Then there's the million-dollar question. How will Kendrick respond? Historically, Kendrick has never been one to shy away from name-dropping or stirring the pot in a verse. Remember Control? He put the entire industry on blast, calling out everyone from Drake to Mac Miller. That moment was a cultural earthquake. Fans still talk about it, dissecting the psychology behind the verse. So, it wouldn't be out of character for Kendrick to drop a fierce rebuttal. After all, being challenged by a New York MC is almost a classic scenario in hip-hop, evoking that timeless coast-to-coast tension. But here's the catch. Kendrick doesn't need to respond to stay relevant. He's got the accolades, the Grammys, the Pulitzer, the critical adoration, and a massive, devoted fan base. If he ignores Joey's call-out, it might frustrate a segment of fans who crave a lyrical showdown, but it won't necessarily hurt Kendrick's position. In fact, a non-response could make Joey look like he's swinging at a ghost, desperate for retaliation and a bigger platform. On the other hand, if Kendrick decides to pick up the mic and unleashes a scorching retort, the internet will explode. It could overshadow anything else happening in music for weeks, maybe even months. We'd be remiss not to address the elephant in the room. The 1990s East Coast versus West Coast feud that ended in tragedy with the deaths of Tupac Shakur and the Notorious B.I.G. That feud was fueled by media hype, personal animosities, and a whirlwind of cultural misunderstandings. It grew from a few pointed lyrics to a full-blown cultural phenomenon that overshadowed the music itself and bled into real-life violence. Now, in 2025, the world is different. The hip-hop community has grown exponentially. Rappers collaborate across regions constantly. There's more money in the industry than ever before, and more global fans hungry for the next big thing. Yet echoes of that rivalry still linger. People still identify with the idea of East Coast grittiness versus West Coast funk, and whenever a rapper from one side calls out the other, it inevitably stirs up memories of that fraught era. Joey Bada, for his part, has made it clear he's not looking for that kind of dangerous drama. His whole angle is competition, lyrical warfare. He's urging the East Coast to step into the ring with bars, not bullets. He references the golden era of the 90s, without wanting to repeat its darkest chapters. Whether the fans and media at large can keep that distinction clear remains to be seen. Let's zoom out for a moment. Rap is more diverse than ever. From drill in Chicago to the melodic rap scenes in Atlanta, from grime in the UK to K-pop inspired rap in South Korea, hip-hop has truly become a global phenomenon. The East Coast versus West Coast narrative might feel old school, but it still resonates with many fans who love the history and tradition of American rap. A high-profile battle between two top-tier MCs, especially one from New York and one from LA, could thrust the spotlight back onto lyrical prowess. Maybe it'll inspire the next generation of rappers to hone their skills, to focus on penmanship and storytelling rather than just chasing viral moments. If Joey Bada versus Kendrick Lamar truly heats up, we could see a flurry of response tracks, cameo verses, and collaborative efforts as each side rallies around their champion. Imagine Benny the Butcher dropping a bar-heavy assault, only to be answered by Schoolboy Q. Imagine A$AP Rocky chiming in with slick flows, prompting a rebuttal from Tyler, the Creator. The potential for creative crossfire is exhilarating. On the flip side, if the beef fizzles, it might confirm what skeptics have been saying, that the East Coast as a united front isn't what it used to be, and that no single MC can reignite those flames in a world that's moved on to new subgenres and new sounds. If Joey goes all in and doesn't get the backup he's calling for, it could leave him looking isolated, maybe even overshadowed if Kendrick remains silent. Conversely, if Kendrick responds and absolutely demolishes Joey on a track, that also runs the risk of deflating the East Coast momentum before it ever truly catches fire. Social media is already ablaze. Twitter, or X, as it might be called now. Instagram Reels, TikTok commentary. Fans everywhere are voicing their opinions. East Coast loyalists are celebrating Joey for having the courage to challenge the status quo. West Coast devotees are laughing at the notion that anyone could dethrone Kendrick, citing his accolades and untouchable pen game. Casual fans might just be here for the drama, enjoying the spectacle of a good old-fashioned rap feud. But beyond the immediate drama, there's a sense of excitement. Let's face it, competition can push rappers to deliver their best work. When there's a hot rivalry in the air, studios heat up, studios become battlegrounds, and MCs dig deep for verses that can define their legacy. Hip-hop history is proof of that. In a genre founded on battles, whether at block parties, in ciphers, or through recorded diss tracks. This kind of energy can be transformative, and that's precisely why so many people are tuning in. It's not just about whether Joey can out-rap Kendrick, or if Kendrick will bury Joey with a single verse. It's about the potential cultural shift, a new wave of East Coast swagger, a fresh wave of West Coast innovation, and the fans caught in the crossfire, all witnessing history unfold in real time. So, what's the final verdict here? Is Joey Badass out of his mind? Is he a genius orchestrating a grand chess move that forces the culture to take notice? Maybe a bit of both. One thing is certain, he has shaken up the conversation in a way we haven't seen in years. People are talking, debating, dissecting every bar, speculating on responses, and reminiscing about the great rivalries of yesteryear. And that might be exactly what Joey wants. In an era of fleeting viral moments, to truly capture the attention of the hip-hop world, you need a statement. You need to do something that can't be ignored. Targeting Kendrick Lamar, arguably the face of the West Coast, definitely qualifies as a statement. Whether it's brilliant or foolhardy will depend on how the story plays out from here. What do you think? Is Joey Badass making a bold move to revitalize the East Coast scene? Or is he biting off more than he can chew by stepping to Kendrick Lamar? Are we on the brink of a new East Coast versus West Coast chapter? Or is that rivalry too outdated for the modern rap game? Will Kendrick respond? Or will he maintain silence and remain perched atop his lofty status? We want to hear from you. Drop a comment below with your take on the situation. Let us know if you're Team Joey or Team Kendrick, or if you think the entire concept of sides is played out. The beauty of hip-hop is that it thrives on dialogue, debate, and the clash of ideas. This moment is no exception. So stay tuned, keep supporting the culture, and remember, hip-hop has always been about more than just music. It's about expression, community, identity, and sometimes, downright confrontation. Joey Badass has just thrown down the gauntlet in the boldest way possible, and we're all here for the ride. Thank you for watching, reading, and engaging. We'll see you in the next one with updates on this developing story. Until then, peace, love, and respect to everyone in the rap community. Let the battles begin.